All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Now, before I kick off, I'm just going to make sure, can everyone see my slide deck? Talent Access Phase 3, good to go, Rachel? Awesome. Perfect. Well, welcome to Phase 3 of your Talent Access training. Now, before we dive into the presentation, just a couple of housekeeping items for everybody. Number one, we are recording this presentation, so if you need to step away, maybe something comes up, you can always go back and watch it on demand later. We'll probably be providing a copy in about 1 or 2 days. We're going to make sure we have some closed captioning all edited before sending it your way, as well as a copy of the presentation. Now, we did also have a copy of the presentation in today's invite. So if you want to take notes as we go along, you're more than happy to download that and go ahead and use that to take notes. Okay? Second, we will be monitoring the chat for you all. So if you have questions, feel free to either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand or unmute. Either way works. We have plenty of time today for Q&A. So don't feel shy and feel free to ask questions as needed. All right. All right, and then last but not least, you might see me look to the side here and there. I'm working on multiple screens. I have my slide on one, my notes in another. So if you see my eyes darting from one side to the other, that's what's going on there. And with that, any questions on the housekeeping items before I get started? Everyone can hear me okay? All right, let's go ahead and kick us off here. So what are we going to be covering today? So for today, we are going to first and foremost talk about your role in talent, particularly the key principles and responsibilities that you want to keep in mind as HR professionals utilizing the system. So we'll take a dive into that topic first. After that, we're going to transition into maintaining your access. So we're going to talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you want to keep in mind in order to continue to have access to talent as an HR employee. After that, we'll transition into some information about the OFCCP and the obligations that we essentially are entangled with as part of our responsibilities. We'll talk more about who they are and what are some of the things that you want to keep in mind in order to support us in meeting those obligations. From there, we'll then tackle some talent team support and resources with you. We'll talk about how we can support you as you navigate the university and as you kind of continue to support your departments. And then last but not least, before we go into a Q&A, we're going to have our talent acquisition team share some tips with you about requisitions, offers, the talent system in general that can help you in being successful as a user of the system. All right, let's go ahead and get started if there's no question. Perfect. All right, so let's kick off with your talent role responsibilities. So what are some of those main principles that you want to keep in mind as HR professionals beyond your day-to-day responsibilities of issuing offers, issuing requisitions, etc.? Well, first and foremost, one of your responsibilities is being a partner, not just to our talent acquisition team, but also to equal employment opportunity principles. When you talk and engage with our team, you're going to notice that equal employment opportunity principles are very much embedded in everything we do. Whether it's guidance, whether it's resources we developed, guidelines, you name it, we embed all those principles into our practices. Because for us, talent acquisition is not just about basically finding that person and that great individual that's going to contribute to our university, but also making sure that our processes are being fair and equitable across the entire university when it comes to job opportunities, promotions, etc. So you're a partner to us in ensuring that. You're also a liaison in working with the department. So you get to be closer to the business and you are kind of that liaison between us. So if maybe we have a question about a requisition, about an offer, maybe we're reviewing something and we need a little bit more information, or maybe they pose questions to you and you're not sure what the answer is, you are their liaison to ask us questions. So you're a partner to us, you're a liaison, and then you're also an advocate for institutional processes, equity, fairness, and HR best practices. So when you're utilizing the system as an HR professional, a lot of times you want to pause. You want to think about things not only from the perspective of, can I do something in the system? Do I have the proper provision to do it? But also, should I do something in the system? A lot of times someone might reach out to you, right, and say, hey, can you issue an offer for this candidate? And maybe you're in the system and you notice that 100 people applied, no one was interviewed, and only one person is being offered the position. That's where you want to be an advocate and pause and ask for more questions to make sure that proper processes were followed before you actually issue that offer. And you're also a voice in supporting compliance and alignment with university policies and guidelines. So as you're utilizing the system, keep all those elements in mind. And if you notice that maybe something is deviating from practices that we recommend or practices that should be put in place, that you're being a voice and an advocate to say, hey, let's pause. Let's maybe revisit this process. Give me some more information before we move forward. And let's make sure we're in alignment with the principles we need to be in alignment with before we move on with the offer. All right. And then you're also a champion for ensuring the proper use of our applicant tracking system. So when you are utilizing talent and you're issuing access to people, whether they're reviewers, whether they're hiring authorities in the talent, and you're entering their names and information to give them access, making sure that those individuals are using the applicant tracking system properly. If you happen to notice that maybe a search committee member is sharing information outside of the immediate search committee, or maybe they're using email addresses for marketing when they shouldn't, you want to make sure that you're pausing and you're redirecting people as applicable to make sure that the system is being used appropriately. All right. So overall, you want to make sure you're a partner, you're a liaison, an advocate, and a voice, and a champion of just ensuring alignment really at the end of the day. And we do know that these are some big responsibilities, and know that you're not alone in ensuring that you're meeting these responsibilities. Feel free to reach out to us here in Talent Acquisition if you have any questions at any point in time, or if maybe there's something that you're not sure about. We want to make sure that we're supporting you in ensuring that these obligations are being met. All right. Any questions so far as it comes to your responsibilities as a talent user?
Hey, Andy, no questions, but there seems to be a little bit of feedback going in the background a little bit.
Okay. Let me take a look. Would you be able to summarize the feedback for me, Andrew? I'm
No,
trying to.
like feedback from the background. Something in the background is humming or something, or there's a noise.
Oh, I see. That's odd. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can adjust things here. Um, okay. Are you guys still hearing it?
A little bit.
A little bit?
It
Okay.
actually, yeah,
Kind of, sort
yeah.
of. Oh, I'm not sure what that is. I'm so sorry. Let me try changing my speaker real quick. Okay, what about now?
Perfect. I think it went away.
It went away? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. If it comes back or anything, let me know. I definitely don't want to create any nuisances with it.
Awesome.
All right, perfect. All right, so talent role responsibilities. That was a summary of, again, those responsibilities you want to keep in mind beyond just your day-to-day responsibilities. All right, perfect. Transition over now to maintaining your access. So as you're working through talent and you have this level of access as HR employees, what are some of the things you want to keep in mind in order to continue to have that broad access to our system? Well, you want to make sure that first and foremost that you are applying the content and the principles that you learn throughout this training. So if you are getting resources, information, best practices throughout this training, whether it be from phase 1, phase 2, 3, 4, or 5, that you're applying that throughout your daily activities. You also want to make sure that you're attending any recertification or supplemental trainings as required. So as we continue to develop into talent acquisition, we will be building out more repositories of information for you. We're going to be developing more trainings, and at times, some of those may be required. So you want to make sure you're attending those. And if you're not available for a required training, just making sure that you pause and maybe let us know so that we can make sure to record the session for you so you can watch it on demand later on if you're not available to be present in person. All right. You also want to make sure you're participating in any internal audits where we will dive into processes that ensure alignment with university policies, practices, etc. So you want to make sure that you're participating in those audits. Right now, I will say we haven't kicked off those audits, but as we transition into our talent acquisition model, that is something that we're going to be putting in place, and you'll want to make sure to just keep an eye out for. When we have the discussions and we're diving into, the recruitments that you've supported, we'll make sure to give you feedback about anything that's working. If maybe something's not working and we need to adjust, we'll give you that feedback and we'll work with you to institutionalize those processes into your processes with your hiring departments. And keep in mind that we do know that, it's not something that, if it's a big initiative that you're going to do overnight on your own, we're going to be reasonable in making sure that we're giving you the support you need as we identify areas for improvement and ways to make our hiring and selection process better if there are opportunities for it. All right. Now, also in maintaining your access, you want to ensure that you are keeping up to date with alignment on any processes or updates that the talent acquisition team is sharing with you. So it may be that maybe we send updates through the HR listserv or maybe through a pop-up in talent, and making sure that you're remaining in alignment with that information. If for some reason, we send out a message and you're not quite sure, well, what is the action that I'm supposed to be taking? Or what is the element that I'm supposed to be covering through this guidance? Feel free to reach out to us and we are happy to walk you through any changes and making sure that you have the information you need to implement those in your hiring areas. All right. And then another thing that you want to keep in mind is maintaining confidentiality. That is just so important in general. Again, because we have access to so much information and talent, making sure that you're keeping that information confidential and that really people who should know about that information are being aware, but anybody that isn't someone that needs to have that information isn't being given the details. So really, when it comes to searches, that the information is being maintained within the committee and the individuals that are supporting that search versus maybe, sharing outside of that immediate circle with others just out of curiosity. When people apply to talent, we do give them our applicant privacy commitment. So they basically are told, we're not going to be sharing this information outside of this search. It really is just for selection purposes. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our word to that commitment and not sharing information with people that shouldn't really have access to it. All right. And then you also want to make sure that you are avoiding any real or perceived conflicts of interest. So, if you are working on a committee or helping a committee, making sure that we aren't giving access to individuals where there might be a real or perceived conflict of interest. If maybe you catch wind that someone in the committee is interested in applying to a position, making sure that you're pausing and kind of assessing that conflict or potential conflict before moving forward. And perhaps it might mean having that individual step away from the search committee, or it might mean actually restarting the process if maybe we're too far into it. So perhaps, you find out that someone's brother is applying to a position and they've been in interviews and one of the committee members is the brother or the sibling of that individual, making sure that, you're mitigating and figuring out if maybe we need to restart that process based on that conflict. And when you're not sure, connect with us. We're more than happy to walk you through the situation and figure out, all right, what makes the most sense for the search. We always want to be mindful of resources and not restart if we don't have to, but in situations where maybe the conflict is sufficient, we might have to suggest restarting the process. So we don't want to get to that point. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for any potential conflicts of interest early on in the process. All right. So those are some main points to keep in mind as far as maintaining your HR level of access to talent. Any questions so far there? No? All right, moving on. Now we're going to transition into our OFCCP obligation. So who is the OFCCP? The OFCCP is a federal agency, and OFCCP stands for the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. And because the university receives money from the federal government, we're a federal contractor, we are subject to their purview. Among other things, one of the things the OFCCP does is they ensure that federal contractors are keeping up with their equal employment opportunity obligations. So they are very interested in knowing about our hiring decisions, our promotion decisions, our termination decisions, compensation decisions, really anything employment related, and digging into it and making sure that we're not either inadvertently or purposefully creating issues where there is discrimination or adverse impact. So they really take a close look at our information. And the way in which your kind of day-to-day work is connected to those obligations is that all the information that you enter in Talent and when you're supporting a search, that basically goes to this federal agency. So every year we are getting all the information in our system, we're evaluating it, we're assessing it, and we're essentially assuring that we aren't having any issues with our equal employment opportunity elements. And if there are, that we are addressing them. Every once in a while, the agency might want to audit us based on their principles and go into deeper dives into our information. So in those cases, as a talent user, what you'll notice is we'll partner with you. So if this federal agency says, hey, we're interested in learning more about, I'm going to make this up, but the practices in College of Eller, in facilities management, we'll reach out to you to gather more information so that we can make sure that we're giving them a complete picture and a full narrative of what hiring decisions have been made and why. When they are scrutinizing this information, it could be that we ask you to provide us information on selection decisions. So maybe tell us a little bit more about why some people moved forward and why others didn't. Now, Talent does give us a taste of some of that information, but a lot of times maybe the information in there is not complete and we might need a little bit more detail, which is also why it's important to make sure that our system is up to date so that we can avoid questions if necessary and just kind of have a holistic picture in there if we can. We might also ask you to produce other information related to the search that maybe is not typical. So we might ask for information on the selection decisions in terms of messaging that went out to campus or messaging that went out to candidates or messaging that went out to the search committee. So know that the request for information could kind of encompass just standard kind of day-to-day elements, but can extend beyond more of that communication and more of that detailed information that you might not typically produce, but the OFCCP might want it to make sure that they have a good understanding of the entirety of the process. And then last but not least, you might partner with us in not only providing this information, but making sure that we're applying any changes to processes that maybe come out of these audits. So if this federal agency tells us, hey, moving forward, we need you to ensure that X, Y, and Z is happening, you helping us institutionalize that in the hiring departments will be an area where you would be partnering with us. All right. And I will say during one of our last audits, one of the main things that came out of it was that our data was not very good, meaning that it was a lot of times incomplete, or we would have a lot of applicants that maybe were dispositioned the same way, but it was unlikely that they all had the same disposition code, so they would ask for more information. So definitely data is one of those areas that they really hone in when they're doing their audit and making sure that if something looks odd, something doesn't look quite right, that they're asking for more details. And one of the things that we essentially committed to after that last audit, when they gave us feedback into our data, was that we were going to do better when it comes to reporting data, which is why the recruitment guidelines that came out about, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, they really were part of a result of this audit where we were like, okay, we need to come up with some consistent practices across campus. We also need to come up with some better ways to track information, which is why we created more disposition codes and Talent at the time. So a lot of what we do when it comes to the processes and Talent aren't only equal employment opportunity driven, but sometimes even driven by just what this federal agency is giving us in terms of feedback. Any questions about the OFCCP and some of those obligations? Nothing so far? All right. Pretty clear cut. Federal agency looking at our stuff, right? All right. Well, that moves us and leads us to how our team can support you. So we here in Talent Acquisition are here to basically be your subject matter experts. We know that, you are dealing with a lot of different things across your hiring departments. One day you might be working on termination, another day it's maybe a benefits orientation, another day it's a referent offer. So we're here to be your subject matter experts so that you don't have to worry about carrying that burden on your own. So we do encourage you to ask us questions. If you're ever in a situation and you're not quite sure how to address it, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. And maybe if you have some inkling of how to approach a situation, but you just want a sounding board before moving forward, we're here. We definitely can give you a lot of insight when it comes to institutionally how we would recommend things go based on what we see on campus, as well as tying back to OFCCP, maybe some of the documentation or things that we know that they're looking for when it comes to some of the decisions we make. All right. We're also here to help you just navigate complex situations and use situations in general. So maybe if you're newer to your role and you're just not even sure where to start with something, we're here to help you. Even if it means, being on a call for 1 to 2 hours, whatever it might be, know that we're happy to dedicate the time to making sure that you're getting what you need to be successful in your areas. And then we're also here if you want to request feedback from us. So if maybe there's some internal processes, practices, or things that you want us to look over that you're thinking about putting forth with your hiring departments, we're happy to review that for you and kind of give some insights as to whether maybe there's some other things that we would recommend including. Okay. And then we're also here not only to be your subject matter experts and kind of give you that kind of just in time information based on what you're looking for, but know that we're also here to transfer knowledge. So when you connect with us, we make sure to not only give you the answer, but share the why behind our answer so that you have the necessary context as you navigate situations and to share updates and best practices with you. If there's something that we're going to be changing process-wise, we'll make sure that we're keeping you up to date. If there's something that we are seeing in terms of legal precedents that maybe we think are important for you to be aware of, we'll make sure to share that as well. So know that we're here to just share information in general as well. And then I mentioned this already, but provide in-depth consultations for you. We're definitely here to give you that more involved level of support if and should you need it. And then we're also here to support you in finding effective strategies to meet your recruitment and hiring needs. So if for some reason, maybe you have a posting that's not quite attracting the talent you're looking for, you've kind of tried everything and you're not sure what else we might be able to do, feel free to reach out to us and we can share some common things that we think might be helpful to attract more candidates, talk about, the market, pipeline, kind of what we're seeing are the trends, and making sure that you have that information to help you navigate and hopefully attract that candidate that you're looking to attract for your position. All right. And as far as how you can contact us, you're welcome to contact us directly, anyone on our team, or if you want to just email our team group email address, which is on this slide at the bottom, you're welcome to, and we'll make sure to assign someone to your question so that they can help you navigate the situation. All right. Any questions there? No. All right. Moving on to resources. So just want to give a quick shout out to our website because we have a lot of content there for you. I have the URL listed at the bottom of the slide here, and I have a taste of some of the resources that we have available. We do have others there too. So know that, this is not all encompassing, but just wanted to give you a little taste, like I said, of what we have available for you. We have our recruitment administration guidelines on our website, information on out-of-state work arrangements, employment of children, just a lot of different topics that we might not necessarily touch during this base training, but definitely worth looking into if you haven't had an opportunity to review some of those resources. And we are continuously adding things too. So keep an eye out for new things that might be added to the list. All right. Any questions there? No? All right. That brings us to our talent acquisition team tips. So what I'm going to do, I've done a lot of talking, is I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And I'm going to have our team do a roundtable of tips and share some things that might be helpful for you. So I'll go ahead and start with Andrew. And Andrew, if you want to go ahead and then call in someone else, and we'll just keep going until everyone's gone.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Campbell. I am the lead for talent acquisition, employment compliance. And the tip I want to provide for this afternoon has to do with utilizing the funding notes and the attachment sections of the requisition when communicating any important information about the requisition or about that job posting. That's especially important right now that we're in a hiring freeze, to communicate information on whether or not the account is exempt from the hiring freeze, or if you have SVP approval to move forward with the requisition. So anything that you feel needs to be communicated regarding that recruitment, please utilize the funding notes and the attachment sections. All right. And then so I see Tyler next to me. So I'm going to go ahead and call on him.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Andrew. My name is Tyler Kitchell. I'm a talent acquisition professional too on the team. And my tip for us today is going to be a little bit similar to Andrew, but I'm going to kind of dive into more of the offer letter side. So just a component when you're generating the offer letter and using that function of the comment section or the note section within that to let us know any pertinent information regarding the offer letter. That also pertains to, like, higher rate of pay approval from the compensation team, anything like that when it comes to that approvals. Just as similarly Andrew said, we do need SVP approval when it pertains to those letters. And that more or less pertains to certain scenarios where it even comes to maybe you don't feel like it was an offer letter that was previous to our hiring freeze exemption, but an extension of, let's say, an end date. That would also constitute SVP approval. So just wanted to kind of provide an example there of when, a good tip when it pertains to giving us notes, giving us context. That way we don't have to necessarily follow up with questions if you maybe already have the answers to them and you're able to give them to us ahead of time. All right, I'm going to call on Elizabeth next.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Lugo. I'm from Talent Acquisition. I just wanted to bring up copying requisitions. For example, if departments are allowed to copy requisitions, and what we would like to keep in mind is to verify that all the content is accurate and up to date when you're copying a requisition. That's really important because sometimes, if you're copying an old requisition, some dates can be outdated. Even in the funding notes, as Andrew mentioned, funding notes are there from the old requisition, and that do not pertain to the new one as well. So just to be on the lookout for when you're copying a requisition, to take a look at it and make sure that all the updated information is in there for that current requisition. Even though it's a copy, it's going to be new and to the public, and we want clean information in there. Thank you. Okay, so Dora, she's next.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hi, I'm Dora Eamon. I am a talent acquisition professional too as well. And my recommendation is, I lost my train of thought, but 7 days. Requisitions have to be remain open in ND covered OFCCP. That's the reason. The reason for the 7 days is that we made an agreement with OFCCP that we would do that to have an equal recruitment across the board for all candidates. And also on the offer letter side, the 7 days will reach out to you and ask you why you didn't keep the requisition open for that side. So just 7 day rule. My next Samantha's gone. I was going to say Samantha.
We can hand it
Rachel?
over to you. Yeah, are you
Rachel. I see Rachel. Sorry.
It's okay. I was just hiding out here. So Rachel Caliendo, I'm on the talent team for the UAHS side. Really good notes, everyone so far. Also, my thought was funding notes and thinking about the OFCCP audit. Occasionally we have, especially in UAHS, PCNs where we've had to update. Maybe it was originally a part-time PCN and now we are posting a position for full-time. So anytime that there's a difference between what is coming through UAccess and what we're putting on the requisition, we should call out those changes in the funding notes. So that's something that we've noticed over time, and making sure that everything is reflective, or that we realize there's a difference, and those steps we're taking to rectify that. So I think that was going to be my note, and always reach out for help, always ask questions and respond when you see emails so that we can help you get your positions posted as quickly as possible or your offer letters approved as quickly as possible. So I don't see anyone else on the screen, so I'm not sure if there were questions in the chat that someone else wanted to answer or if there's anyone else that could take.
Right, sorry, Rachel, we have Diana also.
Oh, Deanna?
Deanna, sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine.
No, you're fine. My name is Diana Guerrero, and I'm a recruiter too on the UAHS side with Rachel. I feel like most of the good tips have been taken away, but one that I could recommend is that a lot of people maybe aren't aware of is using the view history on a rec. It shows you where a rec has gone through, where it was, where it currently is at. Some people jump the gun and assume that it's sitting with someone waiting for approval when that may not be the case. And I like to rely on that because it's the most accurate way to tell where a rec would be at. So yeah, I would use I would recommend using the history section on a rec.
Thank you, Diana. All right. Anybody else that we're missing from our talent acquisition team? Going once, going twice. No. Okay, perfect. Well, with that, I'll open it up to questions. Andrew, I don't know if there's any questions that have come through in the chat that we haven't answered quite yet.
There was one comment that regarding the copying requisitions. They said, I understand we were not allowed to copy requisitions anymore due to all the recent changes, such as pay transparency.
Ah, yes, good point. So you can copy as long as you've made sure that all the information coming through is accurate. So if you're going to copy a university staff position, making sure that those rates that are coming through actually align with what's most up to date in like JD Expert. If you're copying a rec that maybe is 2 years old, very likely that we've changed pay structures since then. If maybe it's a rec that you just created a week ago, less likely that we've made some substantial updates to that, so it's likely you can copy, but always double checking that data first before copying. So we don't necessarily prohibit copying per se, but we don't recommend it unless you've kind of done that audit of ensuring accuracy. Good question. And then I think I have another one here in the Q&A. The question is, this may have already been answered, but does your team ever meet directly with department supervisors to provide training and best practices, or is it expected that we, the HR gens, will provide this information? Great question. So as we're transitioning now into this more talent acquisition-esque model, if you will, we do plan that we're going to be offering a lot more trainings and have more bandwidth to provide those trainings. So right now, there's not necessarily a lineup of trainings that we have, at least on main campus, that we would go out and offer to hiring supervisors. But if you're interested in something, let us know and we can figure out if we have something built, or if not, we can maybe build something for you and partner with you to deliver that, or deliver it with you kind of just being in the audience as a support if you prefer that approach. So yeah, absolutely feel free to reach out if you're interested in having us be out there and sharing some information with your hiring managers. And Rachel, I'll let you, if you don't mind, maybe speak if there's any other resources that maybe they're existing on the UAHS side that maybe I'm just not aware of.
No, I think you covered it well. I think we're always available. On the UAHS side as well, if there's something in particular that's needing to be addressed or training that needs to be addressed. We've tried in the past to do small just-in-time trainings, but yeah, we're just open to kind of seeing how we can grow TA as a whole, all across campus. So if there's a need or resources that are necessary, just reach out and we'll see how we can help out.
Absolutely, I agree. And you reminded me, Rachel, we are also just as talent acquisition in partnership with the TA teams both on main campus and UAHS. We are working on developing an EDGE search committee member training. So that's currently in the works. We don't have a release quite yet, or a release date quite yet, but that will be coming. So if you're interested in something a little bit more in depth, if you will, that is something we're working on and hopefully we'll be delivering to you all maybe in the next year or so. Any other questions?
Yes, we have one that says, what is the recommended expectation, excuse me, what is the recommendation / expectation for keeping hiring committee interview notes?
Yes, so you want to maintain those for 3 years from the hire date. So you want to make sure that maybe there's one point of contact on the search that just collects everything. We collect things that are in Talent. So if you happen to upload your interview notes to Talent, we'll keep those on your behalf. But anything that's not in Talent, that's something that you would want to keep outside of the system for that 3-year record period. Good question. Anything else? I'm checking the Q&A box just to make sure. Okay. Perfect. Well, we know you're all really busy, so we wanted to make sure to keep this training concise and to the point, but I'm more than happy to give you the extra time since we didn't use it. If anything comes up, feel free to reach out. As Rachel mentioned, we're always happy to help and we're always here to support you. So definitely feel free to reach out if we can be of support. And with that, I'll go ahead and just wrap things up with just couple notes real quick, and that is that again, we will be giving you a copy of this recording. So keep an eye out for that as well as the slide deck copy. And then Andrew is going to be scheduling shadowing for phase 4 and 5 for main campus. So keep a lookout for that. And then on the UAHS side, Rachel, your team can definitely coordinate that, I assume. But if there's anything else you want to add there, feel free to chime in. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time. We appreciate it and have a lovely rest of your day.